Good morning, everybody. Welcome to my YouTube channel. It's Sunday, July 7th, 2024. My name is Teri Hunter, and I'm here with your weekly Traversing the Transits with Teri. We're also going to do a tarot card and an angel reading for each sign. Let me just adjust my screen real quick. There we go. And my chair, excuse me. Doesn't look like anybody's here yet, so I'll just take advantage of that and settle in. Okay. I hope everybody had a nice holiday. 4th of July here in the United States. It's a big weekend. And frankly, it's a big week astrologically. We have a lot going on. We've had a Mercury-Pluto opposition going on for the last week or so. Maybe a little longer because we can feel it as it's starting to creep in and then as it's fading out. And now we're going to experience the same thing with Venus. And I think this is significant because of the landscape of what we're walking through. Good morning, Jules. Good morning, Margie. Happy Sunday, everybody. I hope you had a nice holiday. It was weird here, I'll tell you. They did a drone show rather than fireworks for the first time, which theoretically seemed nice for the dog, but boy, it lacked luster to say the least. Quick announcement, Small Wildflowers is not going to be here today. She is she's got some things to do before the heat gets too bad. So we're on our own when it comes to the timestamps. So I'm going to use my handy dandy little cards so I can find it in the playback and try to do that this afternoon. All right, so I'm going to jump into for those of you that are not used to or haven't been here before, here's the business. The readings are based on whole sign Western astrology. So when I'm talking about a sign, I'm referring to the rising sign, the Cancer rising, etc. This is also applicable to your moon and to your sun, as well as if you have a stellium. That's 3-4 personal planets in one sign or house. I want to say this. I think the moon is honestly the most important planet because the human is an emotional creature, and we are in very emotional and passionate times. And we're going to see a lot of that coming up this week. We've seen it with Mercury's opposition to Pluto, and now we're going to feel Venus. And Venus rules a lot of things. She doesn't just rule women. She doesn't just rule partnerships or beauty. She rules possessions, and she rules money, and she rules self-confidence. She also rules the ability to receive. And during these polarizing times, our awareness of the divine laws of the universe and how our focus creates a point of attraction is going to be very powerful right now, because the attraction is going to get more visible to the outside world. We're going to see people and their belief systems and their sense of right and wrong being more prevalent in our everyday lives. This is partly because Mars is going to go into Gemini soon, and as it approaches Jupiter, that's going to get really intense. But we've got things to do before that. So good morning, Katerina. Good morning, Irene. It's good to see you. Real quickly, again, we're just kind of creeping in, but Small Wildflowers is not here today. So I'm going to use the cards when we do the readings. But let's talk about Venus right now, because she is at 25 degrees of Cancer. And what is she like in Cancer? She is thoughts of home, thoughts of tradition, your property. She can be very focused on real estate right now, on as a general energy, there could be a focus on property, on our country of origin. We know that the United States is going through a political year, so there's a lot of focus on that. We may see in the news people, with Pluto's involved, Pluto is not just death. Pluto is this deep psychological gripping fear dynamic that lives within us that we are not always conscious of. And in an opposition to Venus, this becomes a tense sort of pulling energy that feels as if it's happening outside of us, but it's only happening outside of us as much as we fear what can happen outside of us. We have more power within us, and that is evidenced by the way we think and the way that we focus. And the universe doesn't expect humans to be perfect in their focus. The universe is very aware of the earth plane being a fear-based place so that it offers choices. And that's what Venus is going to do this week, is offer choices. This is going to grow in intensity as Venus is exiting Cancer. Cancer is it's self-worth in the sense of how do we take care of ourselves. We tend to view the mother energy as always giving out and always taking care of others to her own depletion. That is not balance, and that's not true loving and giving. So these dynamics within the Cancer energy and within the Venus energy are going to come to the forefront of your experience over the next few weeks, and overlay whatever house that happens within your natal chart, and that's where you'll see the most intensity. So when I'm looking at Venus in Cancer, for me as an Aries rising, that's my fourth house. So there can be things going on around my neighborhood that are inflamed. And I have a female neighbor who thinks she's the grande dame of the world, and she's very encroaching, and she breaks city ordinances all the time. And I think her number's coming up, because I want to offer this. In these times, okay, we are going to see this polarization between people who are acting out of fear and people who are acting out of faith. And the faith is not something that's outside of yourself. It's not hoping for something. It's actually knowing that the divine laws of the universe are real. And when you implement them, they will give you evidence of their reality and of how you manifest. Now, this to me is evidenced by Mars and Uranus's trine to Pluto. So this whole week, we have this Venus opposition creating this very tense, very unsettling uncertainty. Cancer feels a little insecure. What's going to happen? How is it going to play out? Is this, am I vulnerable in some way? And Venus is about to move into Leo, where her personal pleasures, fun, and the things that she wants to experience in the way of the lighter things in life is being opposed by Pluto, the man, and there may be rebellion about that. There may be, people kicking up their heels in all sort of the rings of our lives, right? We have our intimate circle of the people that we spend every day with. We have that, exasperated by our work dynamic, and then our communities, and then, the bigger world that we live in, that we see on the internet, that we see in our politics, etc. Because as we are sitting in awareness, I feel like when I was getting ready this morning, I felt like Spirit was saying that oftentimes people underestimate the power of your intention, the power of quiet sometimes, the power of lack of worry. People will be, aren't you worried about this? God, you're stupid. But the lack of worry is that attracting in the universe that isolates and insulates you from darker experiences. I also was kind of alerted this, during this time when in my meditation, that Pluto rules the darkest things, not just death. I mean, where humans are dark to humans, and they do things that seem unfathomable. And yet in that energy is where we can become actually the most intuitive. That, when we're in crisis is when we pray to God. Right? Oh dear, that's, the rest of the week we're fine running our own lives. But when it gets unmanageable, and Pluto is unmanageable sometimes, that's where we pray to the divine and we ask for intervention. So I feel like if you could, as a human, recognize that sometimes your fears are your intuition alerting you to pay attention to something, that it may not be a fear that's actually outside of yourself to pull you under, but an interior sort of warning, Will Robinson, go back to the ship kind of feeling. That's a very old reference to an old TV show called Lost in Space. because the trine to Mars and and also to Uranus, which is very loose right now with Pluto, but it's going to tighten up as well. So and I'm going to dig a little deeper. So over this first 3/4 of July, first we experience the Mercury opposition to Pluto, how we think, our neighborhoods, how people around us think, our roadways, so many, people, everything that moves, how things talk. Now Venus is coming in, and I want to offer this too, because you could see some things in the media about money, but maybe even, we'll see, just as a random, the candidates talking about taxation as a way to get out of debt. And we may be concerned about that. Pluto opposing Venus, right? And then we have this idea that the stock market, all these things could feel fear-based and in flux. And what I'm trying to say is that as you pay attention to that, then you say to the universe, thank you for me representing the opposite to that. Thank you for me, because everything has an ebb and a flow. It has a cause and effect, because then the sun is going to move, and how you project yourself, the feelings of ambition are going to be, how can I phrase this? I hope my words are not too choppy. Having our daily lives sort of assaulted by Pluto, then having our Venusian things, our money, our possessions, our home, our family, our relationships, our sense of self-worth, feeling assaulted. Then we go into the sun, how we project ourselves, so potentially assaulted by Pluto, is all going to bring us into this sort of frustrating energy, okay, over this month. But during that time, the trine between Pluto and Mars and Uranus offers bravery and reconciliation on some level as you look to the future to define yourself by new rules. For the last 10 years plus, I've literally sat in my house with no long-term goals that I could see, but just trying to survive every day, doing readings, doing astrology. And how I market myself is I go to the universe and I say, thank you for bringing all the people who best will be served by my gifts and my talents. That sounds crazy to the human who thinks I should be marketing all over Instagram and doing all these things. I cannot be bothered with that. My Mercury in Scorpio next to Neptune is not interested in marketing themselves. I'm just too busy looking and studying and doing what is joyful to me. So I look crazy, right, to the outside world. And yet at the same time, I thrive. I have a flow, but I'm not looking at numbers too much. I'm not looking at statistics. I'm not looking at how other people are managing things. And so the reason I bring this all up is because I may look crazy, my son, how I project myself out into the world, and yet I'm living a more independent and free life than most people I know. This is the trine that is being offered as we look at it, Uranus and Mars in Taurus. Now, Mars is in detriment in Taurus, but I spoke of this last week. This is where Mars has to walk through the land and look at the landscape, listen to nature to guide him intuitively through the forest, right? And now you become in this conjunction with Uranus, and he can see his way out. And he can see it because he's willing to be rebellious against the old story that is giving me those oppositions in Cancer. Am I making myself clear now? Have I painted a picture? Because I want you to start to think of these things as an opportunity. These aren't things that are happening to us. The stars are out there minding their own business. But what they do is they represent a landscape for us. And over the last year, I've had such Plutonian oppositions, and I have Pluto opposing my 4th house when it was in Cancer, and now it's coming back into those later degrees. And I feel so much more powerful through my awareness of recognizing my fears as an intuitive tool, of knowing that many times I could potentially be underestimated. I'm kind of, people see me in a weird way. I'm just very Teri, okay? And I don't mind that, because my Aries has become adjusted and accustomed to people underestimating me. And you know what? In the old years, my Mars got the best of me. But now Mars and Pluto have taught me how to be smarter, how to be more, to think to the future, how to be more strategic, and to engage with the divine laws of the universe to help me accomplish my goals. And they are being accomplished. So this is what I want to offer you. When you walk through this week and people are rattling in their shoes about certain things, because they will be, these times are not for the faint of heart. But your soul decided to come here for its opportunity to make choices during this time. And the choices then will let you know your power. And what does the man want? You not to know your power. Because if you knew it, you wouldn't need them. And the man is just a term for whoever represents authority in your life. Whatever thoughts, whatever beliefs, whatever human structures, they all represent a dynamic. Okay, so now that's it for my big, the transits for the week. Let's go into our readings and see what Spirit has to say. Okay, I also want to offer this. This is the kind of times when, you really should look two ways when you cross the street. You really should check that you have plenty of gas in the car. This is really one of those, just a little bit of just awareness through your everyday life could do a lot of good to avoid some of the potential interesting divine disruptions that will show up. All right. Oh, wow. 145 Club. That's a lot. And I want to offer this because, having Uranus in your 12th house is liberating you from ancestral and soul dynamics that may have been trapping you for such a long time. Sometimes when I first started learning about spirituality, I learned about people who took vows of silence and celibacy and and you carry them into this life and you break the chains and all of that kind of stuff. And I don't mean to roll my eyes at it, but with my Aries rising in my Taurus moon, I could never do a ceremony. I needed to reason it and transform it into a tool so I could cut through the nonsense. This to me feels really kind of, I know it's not easy in the beginning. The first few times it's kind of jarring, but once you get the landscape and you're that awareness, those malefic planets become the most powerful planets for moving past the mundaneness of the human experience. All right. And I just heard that old song, I can see clearly now the rain is gone. Okay, let's start with our Cancers. I'm going to do my little sign because Small's not here. Cancer rising. Happy birthday, everybody. I hope you enjoyed those of you in the first week of Cancer. Let's see what your tarot card is. Ooh, all right, here we go. Venus opposition. This is a little bit of a challenge, the Four of Pentacles. We see this character. He's not a king. He's more of a lord. He's one of those lower rung loyals, and he is holding his money in a very awkward way. He's projecting, something in the future where he's going to have to be frugal. Now, if we really engage the laws of the universe and the laws of that our thoughts are things, which is what Uranus has an opportunity to offer us, genius thoughts that transform our future, then money flows like air. And, Cancer, you've had Pluto opposing your house for quite some time. And in that opposition, it can really have dug up some of your fears. We talked about that earlier. And I think that there's an opportunity here to really look at this week as Venus becomes, in a tighter and tighter opposition. And your awareness of the trine. Oh, you know what I didn't say? But I've said it in the monthlies, and I'll say it for the next 10 years. In the background, Pluto is also making a sextile to Neptune retrograde, which is an opportunity to remove the fog, the illusions, the things that are, the parts of yourself that are addicted potentially to fear or to disempowerment, because this energy will not bring flow. It's actually the opposite. It's like putting a stick in the middle cog in a wheel. Okay, let's see what Spirit has to say about that. Oh, Queen Leo, you're so kind. Thank you. All right. So the other thing that's interesting about the Four of Pentacles, it is associated a bit with Midas. And you remember Midas was that god who, whatever he touched turned to gold, but that also kept him away from his loved ones. He could not interact with them. And here we're talking about Cancer, and we're talking about the sign that represents the maternal, represents the family, the traditions of the family, the home life. And worry keeps us from enjoying our family. Worry keeps us somewhere in the future where devastation and destruction is happening. And I think that maybe if we, those of you that are a Cancer rising can, maybe identify where you have a little focus of worry and ask yourself, is that focus of the lack serving you? Or can you take the concept of what you want and shift it into inviting in abundance? Literally saying to the universe, I have worry about something, or I have worry. Look at your Venusian energy. All right, our first angel is for our Cancers, Adriana, leading you to the answers to your prayers. Then we have Isabella saying, yes, the timing is right. We have Archangel Uriel, the timing is right to transform your frustration, and patience is here, which is interesting because that's always a time to observe one's own energy, one's own thought process. And I know all about realistic and logical and practical. I know all about that. But it's just, if we practiced and experimented with the laws of the universe, people say, oh, I can always manifest a parking space because they believe they can. So you start playing with what with what you believe you can manifest, you call it forth, you get it, and then that brings it up further. Oh, 4 is divine discontent. That's interesting because you're boxed in. Interesting. I like that. Okay. Adriana is leading you to the answers to your prayers, and here's love. And what did I just say? Worry keeps us away from our families, even if we're sitting in the same room with them. Isabella, or the people that you love and you want to be with, is yes, the timing is right, and we got the letting go card. That's funny. Now we have Archangel Uriel being joined by the frog, which is the cleaning of emotional baggage. But here it's cleaning house. The human lives in the house of the mind. And what are we talking about? 4s. We're talking about Cancer. And now we have the king joining patience. Okay. So Adriana says she's leading you to the answers to your prayers. And I want to offer this because this love card is not necessarily about loving other people. It's about this energy of love in general. Am I creating an environment that feels kind of stuck? Am I, through my viewpoint, because there's a lot of things that we can get stuck in that can represent, that are material, that aren't just money. Okay, they can be in habits, in this is how we do it, and you're like, well, is it really efficient how we're doing it, this thought process or whatever it is? Because this love card feels like ease for Cancer to me. It doesn't feel like intimate love. It feels like enjoying my life more, of relaxing, of feeling like the universe is a supportive energy versus what the commercials on TV are going to tell you. Because yes, the timing is right for this new adventure and happiness awaits you. The letting go card, you guys know, this is the song Frozen, right? Let it go. It's funny how some distance makes everything look small, and the fears that once controlled me can't get to me at all. It's time to see what I can do to test the limits, to break through. No right, no wrong, no rules for me. I'm free. Your mind, while it is imprinted and there is a branding on it, there's still the opportunity for awareness. And in that awareness, you connect with spirit about your frustrations. You say to Archangel Uriel, I'm so sick of worrying about everything. I'm so sick of these yahoos out there talking about this and that and scaring me about my future. And I want to feel a sense of ease in my mind. You call it forth from the universe. And then the universe brings you the king, which is really about justice. And justice is an awareness of the ebb and the flow of divine disruption. Because without a disruption, you don't have a choice to choose peace. Without fear, you'll never really feel an exhilaration or what you can create as you plow through it. So when we have this awareness and then we engage the universe, it releases us from feeling so stuck in the material. Okay, happy birthday, Cancer. Here we go, on to our Leos. Rising moon, sun, and stelliums. Now I want to offer this too. Venus represents our self-worth, and in Cancer, in such a loving sign and such a giving sign, there could be a feeling of not a give and take. And I want to offer this because as you give to yourself, more than likely you will find others will naturally just follow suit. Okay, Leo, let's see what your tarot card is for the week. Ooh, the Tower. That's a big one. Now, don't be scared by the Tower. A lot of people are, but that's because they look at what's going to happen to them. This could be a lightning strike that blows something out of your brain that makes you, I'm not doing that anymore. I don't need to be afraid of that old dynamic, that old rule. We have Mercury going through your first house right now, and it is still in a loose opposition, I believe, today with Pluto. And in that, in that opposition, there could have been information even, or things that you saw in the media, not just experienced personally, that have started to shift the way you think about things. And I want to offer this because when I started learning the tarot, every time I found a gal pal to go, to the clubs and hang out with, she would always end up getting the Tower. And out of nowhere, she would get a boyfriend and no longer be available to go out with. And I'd be back hanging out by myself again. So the Tower can really bring in good things. I think the Tower is Uranus. The lightning strike, many people think it's Mars, but it's blowing the crown off of this castle, but looks like a prison. And if you look at one guy's wearing a crown as he's headed out the window, it feels very rebellious. So I think this is Uranus. I think that there's the potential that the trine between Pluto and Mars and Uranus you could start feeling that as a result of the oppositions. Let's see where we're going. Because this is the thing how it could be, okay? Most of the time we think all these things are going to be negative, but this Tower could represent a moment in time when you just become so annoyed with whatever you're going through in the way of a routine that you're like, I'm going to gamble on myself. When I started to be Teri, how that happened was I was working for a chiropractor, and there was this little girl who ran the office, and she was really a very nasty little girl, to be honest. And she was constantly up my butt. And one day I just couldn't take it anymore, and I quit my job. I'm like, I can't do this anymore. And I said to Spirit, if I'm meant to do this work, then you start bringing me clients. And it started. But I'd never left my connection to Spirit. So it doesn't really matter because it's truly an energy. So you connect there, and you have, one who's connected to source is more powerful than millions who are not. So let's see, Leo. Maybe you're finally going to express yourself, and you're going to be like, I just can't do it anymore. I can't be oppressed. I can't hold back. Let's see. Our first angel is patience. The second is Archangel Raphael. The third is Bethany. And the final is Archangel Michael. Patience is being joined by the creative fire fairy. Archangel Raphael is being joined by the Lady of the Lake. Bethany is being joined by the deer. And Archangel Michael is being joined by the restriction card. Okay, this is what I want to say for my beautiful Leos. Until you try, you'll never know. I literally think that. So as I'm pulling these cards, I remember the very first time I went out in public and I did readings. I was so scared because I really was afraid that people were looking for magic. And I didn't know if I had magic. And I made this deal with Spirit. I said, I'm going to say whatever you put in my mind. whatever, I'm just going to let it flow. I'm going to push my ego as far aside as I possibly can about, trying to deliver something. And this is what I think is being offered for my Leos. I think you might be reaching a point where you just can't worry about everybody else anymore. Patience is about observing yourself, your own energy. And here's about the Value Fair is about creative action and optimism, which is something that you rule, personal expression. So I think that this is really a time to be literally patient with yourself as you incrementally move yourself in a more authentic direction. Thank you, Queen Leo, because Archangel Raphael is offering you an epiphany. I don't believe in healing, okay? We are not broken. What we are is standing under a veil of darkness where we don't know our own power. And that is supported by human structure. So Saturn's retrograde in Pisces is about digging deep and reviewing how much are we anchoring into our spiritual connection, to using this universe, not just this planet, this universe. The great Shapley attractor in Sagittarius is so powerful. The great attractor is real. You are a great attractor because Leo, now is a time to have the courage, literally to hold your truth. We've talked, the Lady of the Lake is always at war between your head and your heart, and your truth lies in the middle. But this a tower offers an epiphany of some kind. If I don't try, I'll never know. And in the angel's advice is really, this is interesting. Your fears could potentially be holding you back. And this is about being gentle with yourself and allow yourself this sort of toe tip. You do one little bit at a time, you feel validation, you're proud of yourself, because Archangel Michael is saying that it wants you to have the courage. This Archangel Michael is about protection, but he focuses on courage to make the changes, to incrementally give yourself an opportunity. And the first one might be just right in your mind. If I have a desire to do something, if I have a yearning to be something or try to express myself in a way, would I, on a soul level, have that yearning never to fulfill it? Or has the human structure somehow dimmed me to my own light? Because I think that's what he's saying, having the courage to move past the restriction. And I think that might come up, and maybe something tense happens this week that literally jettisons you into a frustration that says, if I don't do it now, or if I don't try, when will I? And starting to set that up first emotionally and mentally, sort of like this. So for my Leos, because you're about to go into your solar return, at the end of this month, right? Some of you will. Starting when I'm living my authentic life, my authentic dream life, it feels like, and then take every letter of the alphabet and write an adjective for it. The focus of that, and we're at 11 people at 11 thumbs up. 11 is the master number of thought. You will start to stand in your regality. Is that a word? Regalness. And you'll start to feel the power of it. And this is what Pluto has to offer us as it moves back into Capricorn and blows up some other crap and then moves back into Aquarius. And those standing in alignment and awareness will thrive. I love history. I just spent the last 2 days watching this series on Benjamin Franklin on PBS. And one of the things that occurred to me, but it was not talked about, and it just occurred to me, I've seen it before, is that there were Black people in 1700 who lived a free life. Now, how the hell did that happen, right? Everybody who was Black was supposed to be under some sort of slave situation. And I believe that that's the laws of the universe showing themselves. It may not be a large population, but a population nonetheless. And now we get to represent that population. So as time moves forward and everything starts to rattle, as it's going to rattle, we can start to dance a song to that rattle. Okay? So your awareness is where that begins. Okay, on to our Virgos. Rising, moon, sun, and stellium. Virgo. Here we go. Our tarot card is, the Knight of Swords. This guy's moving quick. No doubt about it. Now, one of the things about this character is, first of all, the knights represent the teenage energy. So it's when the energy of the human is at its fullest. It feels its most vital, its most robust. But this is also infers a bit of a anger energy, a bit of taking no prisoners energy. Now we have an opposition between the Virgo energy and Saturn. And you could very well be revisiting something that feels historic. You could revisit some old health issue, some stress. And if indeed you are feeling this way, does this energy serve you? The challenging side of Virgo, which is so funny to me, because honestly, it makes no sense. Virgo represents the naive, the virgin. The virgin by nature has no experience. It's not just a sexual term. It is a virgin representing a dynamic and an energy of newness. So as it moves into the sixth house energy, we'll call it that, service of others, health, and our pets, it's an opportunity to use the landscape of this earth plane to create abundance for myself and have that represent good mental health as I do and employ myself in ways that I love and that are of interest to me. Virgo, that practically perfect and that critical thing is really a man-made manifestation. And it muddies the waters of what I believe Virgo should represent in an authentic way. Chiron rules Virgo. So does Mercury, but Chiron is rulership in there. Chiron is half animal and half human, an integration of experience through intuitiveness and the reasoning of the mind. And as we take care of ourselves and we represent good mental and physical health because we endeavor our service through things that bring us joy, not deplete us, then we actually invite others. And that is the greatest service that Virgo has, to be easy with itself, to allow for the journey of discovery, Mercury, learning through process, not having that process drive you like a friggin' railroad car into you have to be there. And this is the experience. I bet Spirit's saying, slow down. Slow down, you move too fast. You got to make the morning last. Time to feel groovy. And that Saturn opposition could be very much, hey, Dusk, welcome to the room. I love all that part of history. I swear, I just eat it up. I actually watched the Ben Franklin thing. I watched the second one first because it came on, and that's how I knew about the first one. And so I watched the second one actually twice. So fascinating to me. And so many dynamics that are relevant today, family, oppositions and beliefs. That's going to come up, in the neighborhood for sure. All right, Virgo, here we go. What do the angels have to say for you? Our first angel is Shanti, the angel of peace. This guy isn't peaceful. No. This is an angel. Then we have Chantal, the angel of love and romance. We have Ray, which is a connection to spirit. And then we have Desiree, just talking about conditions. Let's see, because those conditions could come back to this, meaning the knight. Of all the knights, he's the most challenging. So the knights are the teenagers. They represent the fire element combined with whatever suit the knight is. So here we have fire and air. And that can be rather large. It could also represent that trine energy to Mars, meaning trine between Pluto and Mars. Shanti is being joined by the restriction card. So clearly there's a lack of peace going on here. Chantal is being joined by the fire fairy. Ray is being joined by the serpent. And Desiree is being joined by the king. I want to offer this for my Virgos because this doesn't feel like it's about intimate love at all. It feels very much like it's about your mind, about your peace of mind, about how you are processing. I want to offer it this way. The Pisces Virgo energy is an axis that creates balance. So Virgo, if you're too much in your process, too much in your head, too much worrying about the future, and then you're running scenarios of lack. And if you're running scenarios of lack, then you're creating a dynamic, vibrational dynamic that's rippling out into the universe. And your words are a vibration. Now we go to Pisces, and we've got this Neptune retrograde happening now. Saturn's retrograding. So there is an opposition to you where something feels fanciful, or something feels like it's illusional, or it's delusional to think blah, 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 blah. And this is about looking for the balance between the two. And also I want to offer this because if you're overthinking things from like when I say a mental place, it feels like I'm looking with my eyes and I don't see a solution. And sometimes my eyes are only looking this way and there's all this stuff happening back here because somehow you're restricting your own peace and your own tranquility. And I think that's the retrograde revisiting something and bringing in an opposition. It could be an authority. It could be something that's asking you to work extra hard because you're not working hard enough and you haven't done it yet and you got to get it done and la, 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 la. And you know those things when you have a deadline and then you bust your butt to make it, and then you give it to someone and then they don't look at it for a week and you want to kill them. That could be the kind of frustration that's going on because Shanti's in the foundational position. Chantal is about love, and I think this is about creativity and about, I don't want to use the word positive because I think that's actually a challenging term. I think this is about Virgo starting to analyze how much time you are spending in enjoyment. How much time are you truly balancing? Because you can't think fun. You can be in a relaxing scenario and still stress out because there is something going on about shedding a skin. There's something about connecting to a deeper truth. No matter how much you charge ahead, I don't know if you can get it done because this feels like you might even miss something because something is happening here at the end where conditions are challenging you. There's an opposition from an authority. And I think if you slow down and you just kind of look at it like this, if it's Sunday, maybe you have work to do. Maybe you know you have a deadline next week. And if you worked on it now, you wouldn't have to listen to your coworker because you're working from home. But you know what? When is that fun time going to come in? When are you going to clean your underwear and, and go do your shopping? So good for small wildflowers. I'm glad she's taking care of her stuff because I think what this is saying to Virgo is just slow down, that you might be creating more frustration for yourself or more sense of anxiety, which could show up in perfectionism or being overly critical of yourself or others and kind of hitting a ceiling. Now we've got the opposition between Pluto and Mercury that's fading out. We've got the Venus one coming on in, and that's a lot. We'll just put it that way. Okay, let's go on to our Libras, rising, moon, sun, and stelliums. Welcome, everybody. It's good to see we kind of got back to our normal number. We usually have about 20, 25 people, sometimes more. All righty. Libra, here we go. Oh, I like this. Making money. We like making money. This is the 8 of Pentacles. This guy has made his money. He's going back and he's refining things. He's doing the details of things, but very much it's a card of paying attention, being aware in the material. And again, I want to offer this because we're looking at a Venus opposition to Pluto, and that's a lot of stuff. Venus and Mercury and Mars rule literally every experience that we have. If in the physical, all the other planets kind of spread out a little bit and they get deeper into esoteric things in our psychological, but the things of every day. And when something is brought to our attention, we get to, I want to say on an intuitive level, assess it because Venus rules money. So Venus is having an opposition with Pluto. You may be worrying about money. Don't worry about money. Worry is a form of prayer that does not serve you. It puts your attention, your focus, your intention in the exact experience you don't want to have and kicks in the law of attraction. Because humans can worry like there's nobody's business. It's super easy to worry. It is very difficult to ponder the good things. If you actually spend any time looking at your own brain and go, look at all these good things, you will find it starting to like drift over and default to the challenging things. You got to scoot it back over here. It's really, I don't know, it's kind of funny when you think about it for a long time. All right. Libra, our first angel is Chantal, angel of romance. There's Seraphina, happy change to your family. Celeste, a new home or place of employment. Oh, and Isabella saying, yes, the timing is right. Celeste often refers is a mind thing for me. Those of you that have watched me for a while know I say this all the time. You can put my physical body anywhere. It's not going to make me happy. How I think is how I'm going to walk through it. I'm going to walk into a new home the way I think. I'm going to walk into a new place of employment the way I think. But this could be coaching you into potentially money-making endeavors that you love, that kick in your Venusian energy. And I want to offer this for my Libras, because it could be the Pluto opposition could be somebody saying to you, well, what do you know? How do you know? Do you have a degree in this? Or you could feel that on a psychological level. Oh, I don't know. I don't have a degree in this. And yet you have all this natural talent that you don't need a degree. Let's look and see. Chantal's being joined by the butterfly. Ooh, that's fun. Seraphina's being joined by the movement card. Celeste is being joined by the fire fairy. That's fun, creative action and optimism. And then we have the Isabella being joined by the perception card. I very, very much want to offer this. So here we are. Libra has the South Node transiting. I've been saying since the South Node moved into Libra, this dynamic to me feels like an opportunity to be egoless to other people's opinions. You know, sort of, it may present some challenge because I may be afraid that, you know, people won't like me anymore. And it's not about fighting with them. It's just about, I want to try this. And this could very well have to do with really looking at how that you make your resources. And are you doing things, or are you allowing yourself to blossom? Because that's what the butterfly offers. And the butterfly is very Plutonian, frankly, honestly. If you think about it, the butterfly's transition from a caterpillar is horrific. And it literally eats itself into oblivion, creating an enzyme that decomposes everything but the spine. And from that spine, which is our Leo energy, our love energy, it creates the butterfly. So this is about doing something you love. This movement card and Seraphina representing a happy change. This is twofold. You know, I really believe that happy people create happy families. But if you're miserable, you can be around people all day long and it's not going to change the way you feel. So when you're doing things that you love, or you feel productive, or you feel like you can't wait to be around the people that you care about. I really think this is about Libra being more brave and stepping out into something authentic. I don't even know if it has to be a money-making endeavor. It could just be like the details of what makes you happy in the earth plane. I mean, yes, this is a money card and we all like to have money, but what does money buy us? It buys us freedom. It buys us choice. Because here I've got this creative thing, and this is a new job. And I really think that the potential of you creating something is there. Now, will you birth it out? Now, let me say this too, because I want to kind of go to my Libra moons. Because my Libra moons, you know, you understand how luxury and beauty and art make you feel better. They emotionally connect you to something bigger. And I think it's important for my Libras to start to pay attention. It's time to pay attention to the permissions you're giving yourself, because you may end up finding that people resonate with how you present more than they're looking for some sort of, you know, certificate or diploma or whatever. I was standing in I'm a Libra sun. So I was standing in not a Home Depot, it was Armstrong Garden Center. This was years ago. I was in my 30s. And I was in line to buy my stuff, and there was this lady, and she was talking to the guy as she was paying, and she's like, I wish I had somebody who would come to my house and do all this for me. And I looked at her a little bit, and then all of a sudden I go, I could do it for you. She turned around and she looked at me. She's like, really? She's like, yeah, I do. I garden all the time. I said, I create, and I showed her some, or I told her about some of the stuff. We didn't have cameras back then. I told her about some of the stuff I'd created. So she's had me come to her apartment, and I ended up doing I created a little urban gardens for a while, and I did patio gardens and created a business just because I said yes to a lady standing in line at Armstrong. It can happen. You just got to be brave and open your mouth. Okay, onward and upward. Scorpio. Ooh, we have this ace of passion, ace of creativity. The ace of wands is fun. Let's look and see. Thank you, Queen Leo. I appreciate you. I forgot to even do my little cards. Thank you. Uh-oh. My own system I've forgotten about. Let me quickly do Scorpio. I make myself laugh. Honestly, I'm amusing myself. Hey, Steven, where have you been? We missed you. I thought maybe you were doing the camp counseling thing. It's that time of year. We're on Scorpio right now, so your timing is awesome. So we have the Ace of Wands. So there are ideas coming. There are passions coming. There are opportunities coming. When we see the wands, there's always fire. And when we look at Pluto trining Mars, we can see some fire going on there. And even though they're not on fire signs, I'm just saying. Let's see where we're going. Fire is not always literal. It's passion. It's being stoked. If you think about Uranus and you think about the idea that it creates liberation, there's passion behind that because something is oppressing me. And I don't want to feel that. I want to feel the freedom of my own expression, my choice, my genius, my ideas. Let's see where we're going, Scorpio. Our first angel is Rosetta, the angel of children. We have Crystal, about faith and hope. We have Athena, about self-assertion in a loving way. And then we have Bridget, looking deeper into a situation. Oh, how fun. Going up to Colorado. I love it up there. I can't breathe worth crap, but I love it. Because I live at sea level. If I go up the hill here in Laguna, it's like going to a whole new stratosphere. Okay. I have a tendency to think what I'm looking at here is asserting yourself in a more childlike way. When you guys who've watched me for a while know that I really address these to you as a personal reading. This is not supposed to be like, for everybody, because this is a card of guiding children, potentially teaching them. But I feel like this is the inner child. I feel like Pluto, your ruling planet, and your co-ruling planet are having Mars are having conversations this whole week, frankly, this whole month. And because between all, Pluto has a lot to say this month. Not that it doesn't always. Okay, we have Rosetta being joined by the Focus card. We have Crystal being joined by the High Priestess. Athena's being joined by the Dragon. That's pretty perfect. And the Serpent is joining Bridget. I am very Plutonian in some ways. My rising sign is Mars, Aries. I have my Mercury in Scorpio, and I have Neptune. My power of fortune is there. And while that is fun and intuitive, it's also, you got to wrangle yourself a little bit, meaning I could be very pushy in my conversation. I can be Miss Know-It-All in a very snotty and entitled way. And where I'm going nice somewhere with this Scorpio is that as I became more aware that I couldn't force people to do what I wanted to do, whether I was right or wrong, I became more inspiring. I became more aware, even in conflict, how to try to be more constructive. And it's not easy, I will tell you, because I'm not wired that way. But this ace feels like Scorpio is starting to really grab onto the power that you represent and realizing that you can either be a hero or a criminal. I say that to you ever so lovingly. And here, now the focus is on actually being more gentle That's what I think that Rosetta represents. You're teaching people all the time about how you roll. And while you may be right, people don't usually respond to sarcasm or, sort of, sometimes words teach people that they don't want to interact with you because it doesn't feel, it feels challenging. Because what's going on here is Crystal and the High Priestess are calling forth your intuitiveness. And that intuitiveness isn't about hoping something. It's about you being an inspiring energy versus being maybe a little bit of a punishing energy. And I don't mean it to be mean, but Athena is saying it's time to start to lovingly assert yourself, to start to have the calmness of this dragon. You're very, very powerful. And there's things that you can do that can be very enrolling. And then there's things that you could do that could be very disengaging. And, Mars is often talked about as harsh and unyielding. And well, again, it's nice to be right. Do you want to be happy was a big question people used to say to me. Teri, do you want to be right or do you want to be happy? And I would say, I want to be both. And I still want to be both. But now I've learned that there's, through this knowledge, that an awareness of my words and my vibration. And Bridget's going, look deeper. And that looking deeper was sort of like, how would you respond, Scorpio, if you were aware of your communication? Because this Pluto opposition with Venus could bring forth for some people a real challenge with the feminine and with the receptive energy, which could bring out that wanting to push a little bit, wanting to force something to happen or, muscle it in. And I think this is a time to have a gentle approach. I guess that's what I'm saying. I'm not trying to say that every Scorpio is always hard to handle, but I think awareness of it this week will get you further than maybe some unconscious things. And I want to offer this too, because sometimes I need a device to remind me to be conscious. So I have long hair and I'll put a scrunchie or I'll put a hair tie on my wrist, but it's never to put my hair in a ponytail. It'll be a bright color so that when I'm talking, it kind of peripherally reminds me that I want to be engaging in my conversation. There's certain people that I engage with and very quickly they grate on my nerves. And so I think that this is an opportunity to see yourself transformed this week. I think this is an opportunity to live an evolved version of yourself. And because of that, it could turn out really great for you, Scorpio. You'll feel really proud. Okay, let's go on. Now that I think about it, thank you, Zahara. So, am I saying that? Zara. Welcome to the room too. I want to offer this too, because now that I think about it, Scorpio rising has a Taurus 7th house. So that means that there's Mars and Uranus going on in the later degrees of your 7th house. So there could be challenges, or awarenesses that come through in that partnership house. We also have Venus, partners, money. They can all come up. Okay. On to, now I'm going to remember to do this. Sagittarius, rising, moon, sun, and stelliums. Oh, could you get a more lovely energy? Our Venus right here. This particular Empress is very much, she is powerful because she understands through her crown of stars where her power lies. You see that her head is surrounded by that lighter yellow color. She's at ease in her position. She's comfortable with the pillows behind her. And that red color is that her ease is the base of her, like her base chakra is her ease. And that's how the bounty comes. So let's look and see where we're going with this. For our Sagittarius, rising, moon, sun, and stelliums. Stephen, your timing could not be more fabulous today. Now, I ever since I found the Shapley cluster, I I love it. So I want to also offer and remind my Sagittarius rising moon, sun, and stelliums to check out your degrees, because if you have anything around 14 degrees of Sagittarius, you are within the great attractor, which means efforting is not necessary in any way. The effort may come from being consistent in your awareness of your thought process and inviting in the experience you want versus efforting out for it. Thank you for the ease and the flow of my material abundance. The more general you can go when it comes to money dynamics, like if you use the word money, you can probably trigger a limitation almost instantaneously. But if you use more broad terms like resources and flow, then it's easier to manifest what you want, because you're not inadvertently limiting it with what you believe you can get. All right. Sagittarius, our first angel is Archangel Uriel, frustration. Then we have Akasha, the teacher. We have Archangel Gabriel, about communication. Okay. And then we have Rochelle, which is my favorite angel, even though I'm not supposed to have favorites. She's all about following your heart and abundance. Archangel Uriel is being joined by the Risk card. Akasha is being joined by the Grail Knight. Archangel Gabriel is being joined by the Truth card. And Rochelle's being joined by the Focus card. Okay. Sometimes I laugh because I always think to myself, do I attract these cards out of because of what I've already said? Or is it my perception? Is it intuitive? Is it just the way I think? I don't know. But I truly believe that abundance is a flow. It's not a steady stream coming towards you, because there's no fun in that. So here, I want to offer this for my Sagittarius this week as an opportunity to sit back, and because I think in the outside world, there are going to be people that are starting to worry about stuff, and we're going to see stuff, and there's going to be media about stuff. I don't want to use any crazy triggering words, but I want to offer this because when I saw Archangel Uriel, now this feels as if maybe you're risking not being frustrated. Maybe the world around you might be like, oh my God, when I gave up my car, okay, so I live in a little seaside town. My car was just growing dust and it was a pain in the butt, a lot of money for nothing. And so after 10 years of having it and only putting 40,000 miles on it and working from home, I gave it up. I don't have a car. And my friend Scott was like, oh my God, what if something bad happens? How are you going to get out of Laguna? And he started going down this whole fear-based path. I'm like, I'll be fine. COVID hit 2 months later. Pardon me while I laugh. But because you're risking not being frustrated. Somewhere, Sagittarius, you're risking trusting a bigger picture. Maybe you actually do start to feel that connection with your guides, with your source energy, so that you understand that you receive, because Akasha is the teacher and the Grail Knight is about bowing down to what is sacred to you. And that feels super powerful to me, because now in the angel's advice, we're talking about communication and the truth. And the truth is that efforting is not necessary. The truth is that we are receiving, because we will receive inspirations or we will receive opportunities that will then guide us. And as we focus on that and be willing to surrender to it, and that focus comes from following your heart. Now, I want to offer this. The heart knows no real fear when it's standing in alignment. It knows ease. The personality and the ego infuse fear, the what if. So when you look at the what if and you say, well, let's cross that bridge when we come to it, there could be a real magical moment for you. Because this is the opposition could present an outside opportunity for Sagittarius to believe a bigger picture. And then the resolution could come in the form of not only the trine between Uranus and Mars, as Mars grows in closer and closer conjunction with Uranus, but also Pluto's sextile to Neptune and Neptune's sextile to Uranus, which is playing in the background of all of this other stuff. I hope that made sense. All right, onward and upward, as I say, in between each sign for reasons I have no idea. It sounds like a military term, but I've never been in the military and would never be in the military because they make you get up in the morning. I will never be in another job where I have to get up. Don't like getting up. All right, let me do my little Capricorn. Here we go. Let's see what your tarot card is. Oh, the moon. Now, this is an interesting card because the moon refers to the Pisces energy. It can refer to confusion. We have this idea that Capricorn's ruling planet is now going retrograde in Pisces. And I have absolutely been guided the minute Saturn entered Pisces to have an awareness of my spiritual tools. Am I using them like I would use my car, like I would use my microwave, like I would use my bed every night when I go to sleep? This is what I think is going on. Now we talk about Capricorn. Capricorn builds in the material world. Capricorn stands for ambition and leadership in the material world. And here now you've been going through this transformation. Pluto's been, is about to move back into your first house, and it's hanging out in your second house right now. So there could be a real confusion. Like, am I a crackpot for actually starting to believe this spiritual mumbo jumbo, or should I just listen to the real world and start to do those things? I'm being stalked by Medicare right now, and because I'm going to be 65 in October. And, my account's like, you got to have all these things. We're getting older. We're going to need these things. And I know the body is going to, at some point, start its decline process. But I am in no way ready to go into the herd of that idea. So the reason I say this is because Saturn can feel repressive sometimes. And Saturn ruled people can feel, a sense of limitation. And yet, I've been offering you, and Pluto's been offering all this freedom for the last, few years as Pluto's been breaking up those old fear-based structures. And now you could have a fight between two parts of yourself. One that is supposed to be practical, and the other part that's like, wait a minute, there's these new rules that I know about. And Saturn is a god, and he gave us these tools, and maybe somewhere along the line, some human changed those. All right, here we go. Onward and upward to our reading for Capricorn, rising, moon, sun, and stelliums. I know it does, Betty, because we have been trained not to trust our bodies. We've been trained not to trust spirit. But I want to offer this, okay, before I go on. Spirit there's energies out there, okay, but your self is not contained in Betty Nuggs. Not right now. Teri Hunter isn't all in here. There's a fraction of me in here. The rest of me is outside of me, holding space somewhere. And I believe that part of me is the stronger part of me, the part of me that allows me to go through this wobble and then come back into a larger trust every time. So yes, the percentage, do I have fears? Absolutely. But the percentage is decreasing as my trust in a bigger portion of myself, which is to ask myself, would I contract to have an absolutely, fabulous midlife and then just decline into some nasty, where am I going? What is my focused thought? What is the percentage? And honestly, I can say my percentage is I believe in thriving more than declining. And when my time comes, I know that my soul will just decide to go rather quickly. That's kind of, I just feel it. So if you can go into that deeper part of yourself and go, what did I contract for? I know I'm a Capricorn, but why did I contract to be a Capricorn? Is it to make my fears work for me? Is it because I knew that I wanted to be part of the people who thrive in the later years of the human experience? I mean, there's so many things, and this feels like a push-pull. And anything that doesn't feel like love is deception. And Capricorn, obligation and duty, if it isn't packed with passion and love for the duty and the obligation is not aligned. And you may be experiencing a bit of a crisis between what was and where you're evolving into. All right, let's see. Our first angel is Akasha, the teacher. Then we have Ray, the connection to the angelic realm. Rosetta, the innocence of children. And Archangel Michael, looking for courage. You know, courage is not the absence of fear. It's movement in spite of it. And it's never rushing, you know, because if you're fearful, it's best to watch where you're going. You know, I also want to offer this because as we close one chapter, we're really calling forth a soul's knowing of another, you know? Okay. Akasha is being joined by the Earth Fairy. The Lady of the Lake is being joined, or Ray's being joined by the Lady of the Lake. Rosetta is being joined by the Disruption card. And Archangel Michael is being joined by the Focus card. Okay, so I want to offer this because Saturn retrograding is never easy, you know, the beginnings. And, you know, this is the thing. Saturn is your ruling planet. I don't know where Pisces is in your personal chart. Well, I mean, I do know if I go looking for it. But right now, Pisces, Capricorn is your third house. Okay. Wait, Pisces, Capricorn, Aquarius. Yes, third house. Had to go in my brain. This is all about your thought process. And that's how I started. You're probably confused because your brain and your emotional body are at war between what looks practical and logical and what may feel like, oh my God, am I an idiot? But I really believe that Spirit is offering you an opportunity and to course correct some physical stress or potential, it feels like stress to me because this confusion feels stressful. But again, connecting with Spirit and saying, thank you for giving me an experience that supports this, what I'm afraid is pie in the sky at this moment. Because here is the connection to the angelic realm. You can't quiet your mind. It's not possible, so don't try. But you can sit quietly and talk to Spirit as a friend. I'm feeling I need some sort of confirmation because I'm having a war between my head and my heart. I don't know if what I'm starting to endeavor, you know, if indeed there's so many ways this can play out for Capricorn, because you could be starting to break down old structures within relationships where you have been dutiful. Venus is opposition to Pluto this week. You have already been breaking up thought processes that didn't serve you. And now the angels are literally saying, don't let anyone disrupt that childlike innocence that you have been nurturing in trusting a bigger picture. Because here, Archangel Michael is asking you to continue to have the courage to look at your focus. So here it is. We have people that we love that we're obligated to. Let's just use a random example since it's Capricorn and Saturn. And you have a parent who is aging. And you know perfectly well that you need to take them to the store to get groceries. And, you know, you want to go do something you want to do something for yourself. And you also have this obligation. I think Capricorn has an opportunity to be aware that if you do the obligation first, what will your vibration be? Will you be at ease with it or will you be tense and cranky? You know, and if you have that awareness that says, I'm going to be tense and cranky, then being smart enough to actually fight your own instinct to go into duty first and take care of what you've got to do here because you'll be better when you go back into this situation. That's an evolved choice. And that might be what you're fighting with right now because they need me. And that's an example. Because it could be anything where there's something for you versus something that somebody else wants from you or needs from you, and how you're going to go about that balance and being aware of your vibration within it. That's powerful. And you'll be protected during it. There you go, Queen Leo. So when you say, okay, I'm not going to pick up that phone, or I'm not going to address the need right now, because you don't want to go into fighting with that situation. What you want to do is have this wherewithal that says, I'm going to go enjoy this first. And I don't care if it's a manicure or a pedicure. If you're going to feel great about your nails before you go into this obligation, you're going to be nicer to whatever the obligation is. So, and this is where people would say that's selfish. Okay, you're being selfish. But I don't think of it that way, because if I'm cranky, I'm no fun to be around. Let me tell you, I know myself well enough. And you don't want to be around me when I'm hungry. Because I could be like, I could cry if I'm too hungry or too tired, like a child. So I'm smart enough to feed myself. And I'll tell you what really gets me are people. I'm very punctual. So, and if I talk too much in a reading, that's one thing. But if someone else tries to take my time away from me, I get very cranky. And if I'm waiting on a street for somebody, it triggers a bunch of childhood trauma. And in my awareness of that, I stay away from people that do those kind of things that bug me. These little things are so important, because what we're doing now is we're freeing ourselves from the fear of the obligation that then makes us go into things with a more joyous energy. All right, let's go on to our very in the news kind of Aquariuses with Pluto. Those early degrees. We're about to go to that 0 degree. I think that's very, very powerful. Revisiting this one, I think it's just in a couple of weeks as we're slowing into that 0 degree of Aquarius. It feels so like, I can't help but thinking that what goes around comes around kind of thing. There's a liberation from it. There's that trine coming up. We're going to experience at the end of the month an exact trine between Mars and Pluto at 0 degrees. So something's going to get an opportunity for a new beginning. And I feel like these are emotional awarenesses that release me on an interior from chains that have bound me to something, so that I can address it in a way that is liberating and not emotionally disruptive. Like I almost feel like I have a little bit of distance from something, so I see a wisdom to it. It's like, when you have a little kid and you know that if you let them eat all the candy they want, they're just going to throw up and be sick. So you have to say no, and they throw a tantrum, but you have the wisdom to know that, okay, you're going to be mad now, but you'll be happy later. It's one of those things. All right, Aquarius. Justice. Oh my goodness. Could this be more Aquarian? Of course, this is a Libra energy, but when you think about most Aquarius energy rebels against injustice, things that feel unfair. That's why I must liberate myself. Let's see where we're going. You early born Aquarians, or early rising degree Aquarians, moon, this is very, very powerful for you. Oh my goodness, Jules, I'm so sorry to hear that. I'm going to say prayers for your brother and for you that's not easy. Did it have any Mercury? Was it in an accident? Did he have a car accident or anything? Was it that Mercury opposition? I'm so sorry. That is one of the most, there's that potentials with Pluto and these oppositions of some pretty dark stuff. But yeah, I don't like to go that far, because I just don't think that we all have to. That's too much. Because if we can adjust our focus, we can start to find the wisdom of all the situations. Now you have an angel on the other side for you, Jules. All right. Aquarius, Isaiah is our first angel, new beginnings. Oh, so he could be released from a lot of his challenges. Okay. All right. So Aquarius, we start with the Justice card. We have Isaiah, then we have Ariel, we have Francesca, and we have Chantal. My neighbor passed away, and we didn't tell him he was an alcoholic, but he was. And when Neptune went retrograde, or when Neptune moved over his sun, he's a late born Pisces. So he's had Neptune floating around, and he had some health issues, and then he passed right after his birthday on the 17th. It's funny. I don't feel lost the same way with it when it comes to humans. Because I don't really feel like they're gone. I just feel like I just don't see them anymore, but I still talk to them, because I really do believe that the dead aren't dead. Now, when Lucky's time comes a long time from now, don't quote me because I'll cry my freaking eyeballs out. Okay, Isaiah is being joined by the love card, my Aquarius is. Ariel's being joined by the Raven. Francesca is being joined by the King. And Chantal is being joined by the Focus card. Okay. I'm definitely going to say prayers for you this week and send angels to comfort you during this time. All right. Isaiah is talking about new beginnings, and there's this love card. And I really want to offer this because love is fun, and it's fun to interact with humans. And we're going to be going into Leo season in no time. But I think that this is more about the love of your own genius, the love of your own future you, the love of what makes you feel like you're living a just life. You're living in your Libra energy. That's the way I want to put it. Creating the things that you enjoy, a sense of balance. The Raven is being joined by Ariel. And I really think that this is not necessarily about connecting with spirit as much as it's connecting with sort of a picture of yourself moving forward and what that feels like and what you want. Because Francesca is saying, what do you visualize right now? And then we have this justice energy, which echoes back to the King echoes back to this justice card as the King represents the law. So I want to offer this for my Aquarians. I don't know why, but all of a sudden I'm thinking maybe this has something to do with thinking about how you want your everyday life to be moving forward, what it is that you enjoy, what it is that you love. Aquarius rules astrology, it rules science, it rules, your hopes and your dreams, things that mature over time. And here, when we see focus and Chantal, and this is in direct relation to Isaiah and the love card, I think it's about the things that you love. Maybe there are partnerships, maybe there are things about, that you want in the way of a love partner or to feel within your loving relationship. But overall, this feels more aligned to a bigger picture of feeling a sense of flow, enjoying your life, loving your life. I have disruptions. They happen all the time in my life, but every night before I go to bed, I come out to my apartment, I check the stove, make sure the refrigerator's shut, and then I say goodnight to my little living room. And I'm like, I love you so much, little living room. You're so pretty, and I love my home. And I do it not because I'm trying to be in gratitude. It's because I literally feel the gratitude. And so I kind of feel like this is an opportunity for Aquarius to start to focus on the things that they love so that they're starting to put that momentum. The timing is right for the magic of starting to connect with the future of what you want to experience and the ease and flow of resources, the enjoyment of friends and the like-mindedness of those that you interact with, the things that make you feel as if life is worth living. I kind of feel that. And I want to offer this too, because, there could be some Aquarians that are dealing with actual lawsuits and things like that. And if it's been in a pause or you're in the midst of a process with it, then I would say that it might be time to just move on. Let the process kind of sit where it is. Maybe you don't need to tend to it directly, and you move on to something more joyous, and that might move the wheels a little quicker. I love that idea of the wind chimes. I do have. Are you hearing the wind chimes? Are you hearing my ring? Wow, I don't even hear it, but it goes off constantly because the guys that live next door smoke like you would not believe, and I think they go outside every 15 minutes. And I had no idea until I got my ring camera. I mean, all night long. Wow, I thought that sound was off. I turned the sound off. Well, it's a nice sound at least. All right, on to our Pisces. Here we go, Pisces. Okay, so you have in your first house a Neptune retrograde and and Saturn. And this can be very challenging. I'm not going to lie, but I want to offer this because everything has its light and dark. So within the Pisces energy, when you think about Saturn wanting to slow things down so that you put a strong foundation, you build something that will last through, wind, rain, snow, sleet, and hail. And this review that's going on in your first house could potentially be the idea that there are old default habits that you have, and they could be overly cooperative habits, or they could be whatever the habit is, wanting to just kind of isolate for a while, or indecision, whatever it is, there could be. Because I feel as if this energy right now is not about, it's about reflection in some way. And if you're standing in alignment with your imagination and in your fantasy dream worlds for a life that you want to live, or are you letting yourself take those dynamics and feel eroded by them? Let's not do that. Yeah, I guess that's why I got pulled the Nine of Swords. Saturn, not easy. Initially, it could bring a lot of fears, stoke fears, reviewing things that historically, may feel challenging. The thing about having a first house Pisces is that to deny your connection to the divine, and to deny your creativity and your natural ability to, through your creativity, it's a healing energy. And I feel like that's where the focus should be. Worry is a form of prayer that doesn't serve us. And in the Nine of Swords, we see the swords are all intertwined. Yes, the night, it looks black, but they're not falling. This is an unconscious war. There's an imprint somewhere. And we see this yellow pillow. The yellow pillow is showing the power of the mind. And we see the blanket. There is abundance being offered. This is an opportunity for my Pisces to sort of look at, and am I inadvertently connecting with energies, or because this, there. All right, I'm going to go, because overall, this worry card is really more about, it's not a real, it's an imprint of some kind. It's a I got distracted a little bit when I saw that Jules's mom was a Pisces rising, late degree. Oh my goodness, that makes so much sense into losing her alcoholic son. It just flipped my brain off. But here, this is about a psychological imprint. And I think that Saturn's retrograde could give you an opportunity to see that this is a historic dynamic, and that now I can transform that fear into something that serves me versus tethering me. Again, fear is the impetus for achievement and exhilaration in so many ways. To me, it's literally the root ball of it. Like without a little fear, it isn't fun. And with fear that is with a lack of awareness of what fear has to offer, it's very debilitating. And this character is debilitated. All right, let's go. Celeste is a new home or a new place of employment, but a shift in the way you're thinking is always how I perceive it. Patience is now a time to gather information and information about your own processes. And then we have Seraphina, which is about happy families, and Astera says to reach for the stars with your dreams and desires. Celeste is being joined by the birth and the rebirth card. Patience is being joined by the novice. That's interesting. Seraphina is being joined by the forgiveness card. And Astera is being joined by the bee. Okay, all my Pisces, I love you so much, but you got to give me a minute because I got to talk to Jewel. It's about her mom. You know what? Your brother's fine. Your brother's on the other side, and he's been released from something. I can see it right here. His mind has been released from something that was torturing him. Okay, your mom gets to know that. He is absolutely in his life review being offered a new opportunity, and he's aware of how he contributed on some level to his own situation. And he didn't know that before, because now he's feeling a sense of reconciliation. He's feeling like, and he's also seeing things about his personal family that he has more appreciation for than he did in this world. And he's understanding more about his being energy and how he co-created the situation. All right, now, because I don't do personal readings ever, So that was an anomaly. But let's go to our Pisces in general. Saturn is asking you to literally look at what you're building in the way of your home, in the way of your mind, in the way of your... Celeste talks about work and employment, talks about a home, but none of those things are joyous unless we have put an intention into something that we love, an area that we want to live in, a job that we want to pursue. And here's an opportunity for a rebirth. And I think that Saturn is giving you an opportunity to see where you've held yourself back through fear or through trepidation or potentially thinking, concerned about how other people would respond. Because now the patience card and the new beginning card, the skill without practice, says to me, I think that this patience is Saturn. Saturn wanting you to begin small little increments of moving towards something that makes you truly feel joyous. To truly feel like, I have no family, so I have no human family, but I have a committee of, like that movie Inside Out, I have a committee in my brain. And I feel like this is referring to the committee in Pisces' brain and a reconciliation of some kind. Like it's almost as if, I want to offer this to you. When any human, regardless of sign, moves through a fear or moves through a habit of worry, and they empower themselves through it, that is the greatest service you can be for other people, because it's the story you tell. And here, reaching for the stars with your dreams and desires and seeing the victory card and the good luck card makes me feel as if Pisces, when you identify that this worry is just projecting a story in the future that you don't have to live. And Saturn saying, I'm holding your feet to the fire to keep that dream job, that dream house, whatever it is you want out there. Doesn't matter whether you can see the resources or not. Because resources can come out of nowhere. You don't know. So, and I know you've got these planets that are up your grill, so this is not easy. It's never easy. All right, on to our Aries, rising moon, sun, and stelliums. I want to say this because when there oftentimes, when people get gripped by addiction, at one point, it's not just a mental choice, it's a physical choice. They can't, physically they can't. And so this feels a little like it got kind of, even if he tried to, he couldn't, because physically, and I don't know if he ever went into rehab, but he needed help with other people. I don't think he could do it by himself. Okay, let me pull up my little card. Aries, here we go. Let's see what your card is. I like this, the 9 of Pentacles. Now, this is very Aries because this is a self-made human. Now, we see a woman here, but I think she's just reflecting Venus's energy of reception, okay? And this feeling of this bird of prey. We don't actually know what kind of bird it is, but it feels like a symbiotic relationship, because we know that initially when we're holding our even a protected hand out for something with claws to grab us, it could potentially scare us, but yet she has come into a relationship. And I think that's evidenced by those big sleeves with that red interior on her tunic. She understands that she's part of this human experience. And so she's not afraid of her fears. She's willing to work through them, and she's willing to take her time. There's also this sense of this is a woman who's made her own bounty, and there's a sense of isolation with her. And there's also a sense of isolation with Aries. Aries is that energy that goes out and pioneers. It's the one that is in the covered wagon, discovering the new countryside, and where would be fertile ground for the future. So let's look and see where we're going, because your ruling planet is it's in detriment, but I don't know, for some reason it doesn't bother me. It makes me, as a Mars ruled girl, it makes me feel like, oh yeah, I've been smart enough to know to walk on the ground and actually to look at the landscape and to pay attention to the sounds of the forest. A quiet forest is scary. Something bad is lurking somewhere. A noisy forest is safe. And as Mars becomes a true pioneer, it knows how to slow down. not to slow down because I'm stopping things, because I'm learning things. I'm honing my skills. I'm sharpening my knives, my sword, my machete, whatever it is to get me through that forest. So let's see. Serafina is happy change to the family. Then we have Isabella. Yes, the timing is right. Patience is here. And then Mystique. Now we have this 9, which represents this sort of isolating single energy. And then we talk about the happy change to the family. This, again, when I talk about people in general, I'm not talking, if I was doing a specific reading, maybe it would be about having a child or a family. This is about the committee in your brain, the committee that does all the yapping. And then we have the high priest. Seraphina is being joined by the high priestess, which literally tells me that the change comes from trusting my inner knowing, my intuitiveness, the part of me that has tamed those earthly fears. And the taming of them is not wrestling them to the ground. They're understanding that if one comes up, there's something to be garnished from it. We have Isabella being joined by the stag, which is leadership. We have patience being joined by the joy card. Oops. And we have Mystique being joined by the owl. I want to offer this because I don't know if you all saw the monthlies, but I talk about Mars at the end of the month will move into Gemini for the first time in 2 years. Now, I know that's a ways off, but this is playing to me a little bit about Mars being aware of its energy. So it's starting to know when to put the gas on, when it needs to be more assertive, and then when there's a time to be a little bit slow down and allow others around me to catch up with my ideas. Seraphina very much seems like it represents that inside out, all the characters in my brain, all the emotions I have. And now I have the high priestess, which is very much this receptive feminine energy that connects through discernment. This is very much, and it also represents prophecy, but that discernment is this ability for Mars to look at when to take action, when not to take action. Here, yes, Isabella is saying the timing is right for Mars to discern between stubborn damn pride and standing in leadership. And this awareness of that has given you an opportunity to observe your own behavior, garnish information about yourself that has brought joy to you or will bring joy to you, opportunity to bring joy to you. Because every one of the disruptions that you've been feeling lately has helped you to move forward towards your goals. And I want to offer this, to expect material resources to come into your experience. So we see an opposition between Venus and Pluto this week. But we also have a trine between Pluto and Mars. So this could be an intuitive knowing about something to do with money, either a holding back, and maybe I'm not going to invest or purchase that particular thing right now. I'm going to give it a minute and the universe will give me a sign and then I'll move forward. There is a feeling of maturity in this reading for Aries right now. And it feels as if that is supported by, and I know, look, this is what I want to tell you. The growing conjunction between Mars and Uranus could be a real you-know-what show in the unconscious world. We could see stuff acting out all over a global stage. But on the interior, because that's what Teri is talking about for you every week, what's happening on your interior world, there's an opportunity to show and demonstrate for yourself a bit of an awareness versus a reaction, which is actually giving you this opportunity to be like, oh my gosh, if that disruption had not happened, I would not know that I actually can show up with a bit of slowing myself down and being strategic. This is not disempowering you, because some miracle is about to happen for you. And I think it comes from this journey of awareness, and it's going to bring some bounty somehow, money. Okay, onto our Tauruses, rising moon, sun, and stelliums. The challenge, that I think, Jules, with addiction is that the goal is to keep the human's body alive, them not to die. And yet at the same time, I don't know how many people who don't find that reason, Taurus, we're going on. You need to find that carrot. Why am I doing this for me? Why am I stopping this for me? When I quit smoking cigarettes, which was not easy because I had rationalized that I didn't smoke much. I didn't smoke all day at work. I could get on a flight to Geneva, Switzerland and never have a craving for a cigarette. But the minute I got off that flight, I wanted a cigarette. I knew it was like a weird psychological habit. So I initially stopped. I tried with the patches. I tried doing all the things to stop smoking. And then I realized it was a resistant energy. There's a reason I'm telling you all this. I stopped resisting and I said, what is it? I want to kill myself. And then I had evolved into a place where I'm like, I want to live. I think I like my life now. And so it became an exercise of self-love. Every time I lit a cigarette, I was like, how do I tell my clients to love themselves and for me to act like this? And that's how I quit smoking. Nobody teaches that in rehab. At least, I don't know. I've never been to rehab, but this is my general experience of others. All right, Taurus, I lied. Here we go. The Fool. This is a fun card. This is adventure. A lot of people think this is Uranus. I don't see any Uranus here. This is Mars. This is Mars going on adventure, not looking where he's going. So let's see where we're going with this, Taurus, because it might be about not, being a little more adventurous, or being not a fool per se, but allowing yourself to, I almost feel like it's a childlike innocence. Well, I think there are a lot of systems that are revealing their inefficiency right now. And I think that this is what the beauty of Pluto's entry into Aquarius will be ultimately, because it will come back to the genius of the mind. It will come back to the awareness of how strong this muscle is. And we talk conceptually about how little of our brains we use. And it's almost like the brain is happening outside of ourselves. There's a weird feeling for me that humans think a lot of things happen outside of themselves. And 99.9% of everything happens here first and then shows up out there. Okay. And maybe that's the fool for our Tauruses, is to remember that, or to start to play with that idea. Maybe that's where Uranus and Mars are giving you an opportunity to really like, wow, who knows? Because this is where I want to kind of say, those of us that are standing in awareness are in a human body, right? So we're still going to feel it, but we'll process it differently. We'll feel it differently. Okay, Serena is the angel of money. Who loves money more than Taurus? Making their money. And I'm a Taurus moon. And there's Venus. Okay, let's look. That's serenity with money. There's Layla talking to God and the angels about money. There's peace of mind. And there's Rochelle. Oh, my goodness. All right, Taurus. Serena's being joined by the Raven. Oh, yay. Then we have Merlin. Ooh, joined by Layla. Or Layla joining, Merlin joining Layla. Then we have the love card joining Shanti. And then we have the king joining Rochelle. This actually feels pretty darn good. So this is what I want to offer you. Taurus is known for its money. It makes its own money, ruled by Venus, our possessions, the things that we have, the things that we craft with our own hands. But I think that this week is about not plowing the fields in your head. This is about being a fool and looking to the heavens, literally looking to God and the angels, and be like, okay, so let's work with this together, because the Raven and Serena are working together to bring in abundance. And this Raven represents magic, represents synchronistic events, and represents coincidence, which there really are no coincidences. Magic is nothing other than alignment to source energy, and that alignment is so strong that source brings that to you immediately. Now, the awareness of that is evidenced here in, again, Layla talking to God and the angels about what you want, and then there is justice, alchemy, and balance. It's a one, which is all about the mind. The Raven is a 10, which reduces down to a 1. So again, that allowing resources to come to you, fostering a sense of peace and harmony about it. This is building a muscle for Tauruses to know that during the times ahead when other people are wobbling, and this week you may have a little wobble as you've experienced this opposition, but that opposition gives you an opportunity to root down in a very strong way, a law follow your heart. The king represents justice, things pertaining to the law. The law of the universe is that we are receiving energy. And when we sit in reception and in serenity, things come to us effortlessly. When we worry, we push it out. We effort for something, and it's a lack energy. And there will usually be obstacles along the road. So here, Uranus and Mars is transit. Now, you've had all the other planets going through your house. You've already had Mercury recently, and you've had, Venus going through there. So you've had an opportunity to look at how you're thinking and how you're feeling about your self-worth. Now, Mars is having to be a little bit brave about disrupting the story. That was then. This is now. And this is now is a following your heart and knowing that the universe will provide the resources, the people, the dynamics. And as I move on to Gemini, I want to say this. Practicing, I think, in the beginning, when you take a shower, Taurus, is a good time to start to say, thank you, Spirit, for bringing me all the people and the resources to move my story forward. This is what it feels like when I'm standing in my heart. And then I think, the earth signs are the most fun ones, because when they really start to root in these concepts, then they represent in ways for other people that some of the other signs can't. God bless Aquarius, but a lot of people think you're already out there. So, when you tell them, oh, you can do this, they're like, yeah, you're an Aquarius. But Taurus tells you that, they're like, oh my God, really? Yes, I have done the work, and the work would be to plow the fields of your own mind, to nurture your own thoughts, to understand the wobble is okay. It's not trying to be positive when you feel negative, because that's only going to make things worse. That's when you call on your angels to help you. Give me an experience. I'm in the earth plane, and that will anchor in your trust, and your trust will then bring in more experiences. All right, our final sign for today, Gemini. Gemini rising, moon, sun, and stelliums. You will soon, you're having Jupiter in your first house. And this is an interesting energy. This is a 7. This is going your own way. Oftentimes this card can be depicted as a thief, but I don't know if he's really a thief, or is he just collected the things that belong to him and he no longer wants to be part of the herd. And he's having to leave certain thoughts behind. Gemini, you represent the twins, and there's 2 swords he's leaving behind. So I wonder what is going on here. Let's see. Because you have Jupiter in your first house, and while Jupiter is considered in detriment, we always want to remember that Jupiter is a world traveler. And so when it's in the furthest sign from its home, it has the opportunity to garnish the most new awarenesses. And this is about the awareness of the human and how the human rolls, how the human's everyday life becomes in many ways running it. And Jupiter would be like, how does that happen? Don't you see in this big picture of things that won't work for you? And then, Gemini's like, but look, this is what I have to get done. These are the things I got to answer my emails. So this could be a little bit, I know I'm rambling on, but this could be taking your own thoughts. Again, the swords represent thought, 5 swords in his hand. That's freedom. And the 2 left behind, what doesn't serve me. Here we go. Ariel is our first angel for our Gemini's connection to source. Isaiah is about new beginnings, things that you love. Athena is about self-assertion, and Francesca is about focused thought. And if you're focused on negativity, the Queen is joining Ariel. That's the receptive energy. Isaiah is being joined by the Hawk, which is an 11. My thoughts. The Water Fairy is joining Athena, which is a 28, reduces down to a 10, which is my thoughts. Francesca is being joined by the Cow. Okay. For my Geminis, I want to offer this. I know that Jupiter may be considered challenged in Gemini, but this is expansion. no matter what. And I think a little bit of going your own way, kind of not necessarily being rebellious. This gentleman looks as if he's sneaking away, but it could be he's being quiet because he doesn't want to hear everybody else's opinion about what he's going to do individually. And that individual is represented by the freedom of the fives. Ariel is saying new psychic and spiritual experiences are changing the way you view yourself. And this could very well be a receptive energy and taking leadership within that. We have Isaiah, new beginnings. And and then we have there's signs and omens that this is feasible, that this is possible. But part of it is you being brave enough to go your own way. And again, this is not about necessarily a rebellious energy. It's about being able to see the big picture that Jupiter is offering in the expansion, and then taking the everyday steps to trust that. And that would be to trust not only the logical steps and practical steps, but also the emotional steps, and asserting yourself towards what you feel is authentic. I want to offer it this way, because when we start to endeavor something, sometimes in the wobble of our energy, we will bring in a resource, and yet that resource intuitively will not feel aligned. It might feel like it would put a Band-Aid on something, but we can know on the interior that it's not long term. And I feel as if with my Geminis, there could be a potential of that awareness coming in. And this is about you asserting yourself as an individual, not as a collaboration. Because Francesca talks about, what do you visualize? Negativity will block your progress. And then there's abundance, asking and receiving. So there's two things going on here. Number one, I feel as if for this particular week, really assessing what you want. The opposition between Venus and Pluto as it grows could present challenges, and you could inadvertently want to connect with another, collaborate with another, get resources from another. But I would wait a minute and let the universe reveal a bigger picture, because it looks like resources will come to you without having to effort for them. And part of your story right now is to stay aligned to a more individualistic viewpoint of what you are creating. I've been doing this work for 10 years, and I'm not really money focused, to be honest with you. I'm not, I don't want I want a bunch of money in the bank, but I clearly don't put it there. I spend it. And I say this not because I'm proud of it. I say it because I just have gotten into this idea that whatever I need will show up. And after 10 years of doing this on my own and not having like an accounting job where there's an obvious human structure attached to the service, I feel like there's something more for my Geminis. And as you endeavor that, as you endeavor the thoughts of that and how it would feel when I do that, and because what I found was that not only do I enjoy working for myself, but the lack of money drive I identified as really more of a freedom drive. Because if I was just trying to build money, then I would be like a slave to building my practice. And I kind of started that way, but then I balanced myself out. So that's where I'm going with my Geminis. Once again, I probably talked a little too much, but God bless you all. Love you so much for putting up with me. Thank you so much. If you get a hankering and you want to put your signs timestamp, I'll appreciate it. I've got 2 appointments this afternoon before I'll have a chance to do that. I'll see you next week. Small will be back then. Have a good week. Be gentle with yourself. And if there are energies that irritate you this week, don't jump into the fray. Take a little time for yourself, and that way you might avoid whatever that, or at least you won't have to be in the direct line of fire of Pluto's opposition to Venus. All right, everybody, sending love and light to you all.